Welcome to the SVG-TV news for today, Monday, April 19th. I am Khalil Kato with the details. Yesterday, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, along with a team from the United Nations, toured the North Windward communities in the red zone that have been hardest hit by the ongoing explosive eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano. Prime Minister Gonsalves said that the communities have long faced multiple threats from nature, including sea erosion, hurricanes, unseasonal and excessive rainfall, and most recently, the eruption of the volcano in a time when the entire nation is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Gonsalves said there is quite a bit of work that will need to be done in the area, as homes which were not totally destroyed will need extensive repairs. The Prime Minister said he wanted the United Nations officials to see firsthand the level of devastation unfolding on the island as a result of the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano.
The combination of forces of nature pile up from the last event with rainfall, excessive rainfall, and landslides and mudslides and the rest. The impact of the rumbling and rolling of stones too, and the ashfall. And on top of that, what we are seeing with sea erosion. So it's the multiple problems. In this case, 3 of them related to nature. That's why several persons in the delegation from the UN using the word to describe here apocalyptic.
UN Resident Coordinator for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Didier Trebuch, described what he saw as apocalyptic, noting that his team will be working alongside the government of SVG to provide assistance to those in need.
United Nations to help the victims and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines with not only humanitarian assistance to help the government supply the most basic needs like water, like food, like cash voucher, like health, and help with the cleanup of the ashes and all related environmental health issues, but also to recover from this crisis, to rehabilitate the agriculture, to look after housing and shelter, immediate needs, but also more longer-term needs so that people can return safely as soon as possible and within the current risk that exists.
Trebuch further stated that all facets of the United Nations have been mobilized and a donation of $2 million in aid will be given to SVG. In addition to this, the UN will launch a global funding appeal with PM Gonsalves tomorrow in a bid to garner global assistance.
With agencies such as UNICEF, such as PAHO, the World Food Programme, the United Nations Environment Programme, FAO for Agriculture, amongst others, are mobilized. We are launching a funding appeal on Tuesday with Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, globally, the global appeal to attract the international solidarity that has already expressed itself. But as United Nations, we have already allocated $2 million precisely to respond to the most urgent humanitarian needs. We're looking forward to work with the international community and international donors and private sectors and individuals of goodwill to help the government in the extraordinary efforts that they have deployed and the great coordination and management of this emergency that has happened so far.
Meanwhile, delivering a virtual address to the United Nations today, Prime Minister Gonsalves made an appeal for more humanitarian aid for those affected by the eruption of the volcano. The meeting was convened to address the enhancement of cooperation between the United Nations, regional and sub-regional countries.
For 11 days now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been in the throes of a series of explosive volcanic eruptions on the island of St. Vincent. As a consequence, nearly 1/5 of the island's population has had to be evacuated to safer areas. A monumental challenge of humanitarian relief, including security considerations and recovery and reconstruction, face us. Without effective cooperation between our country, the United Nations, and our regional, sub-regional organizations, our life and living would be wholly unbearable.
PM Gonzalez spoke briefly on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the country and the upcoming hurricane season, which will begin in another 6 weeks. With these in mind, Prime Minister Gonzalez said the people of SVG need all forms of humanitarian relief at this time.
Without an enhancement of this cooperation, the relief effort would be stymied and the prospects for our recovery and reconstruction would be dismal. Much more is required to be done. Across our land, the faces of men and women are strained and anxious. They are hurting badly. The global community is being summoned to action to our aid in the name of humanity and in accord with the United Nations Charter.
And the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, CCRIF, today said it would be paying out an estimated $2.2 million for relief and recovery efforts following the eruption of La Soufrière. The CCRIF, a segregated portfolio company owned, operated, and registered in the Caribbean, said that it has provided financial assistance support in the form of a grant of $2,209,000 to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The CCRIF Chief Executive Officer Isaac Anthony said the support to the government has been made possible because the facility operates as a developmental insurance company, whereby members have their commitment to support them in times of crisis, seek out opportunities to enable them to enhance their resilience to current and future natural hazards. Anthony said the CRIF also engages donors and collaborates on programs designed to reduce vulnerability, negotiate the best prices for reinsurance, and advance disaster risk management and ecosystems-based solutions for the betterment of the peoples of the Caribbean and Central America, in keeping with Agenda 2030 and the thrust to leave no one behind. CCRIF said it believes this support will provide much-needed liquidity to respond to the ongoing relief and recovery efforts in SVG. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been a member of the CCRIF since its inception in 2007. Director of NEMO, Michelle Forbes, said the organization has been faced with many challenges, but those challenges are being overcome with support from a number of local, regional, and international partners, including the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, and the Red Cross. Speaking on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program last evening, Forbes announced a new hotline that persons can call to register for general queries and for donations.
We have had SEDEMA on the ground with us for the last few months, and we had another contingent join us over the last few days, and another contingent from the Caribbean Disaster Response Unit joining us today that will support our activities, especially in warehousing, logistics support, because that is going to be quite big, get quite large over the next few days. We have also been visited the UN agencies from the UN system also on the ground, the UN resident coordinator based in Barbados, PAHO representatives, members from the World Food Programme who are embedded with us in the National Emergency Operations Center, and we have quite a few players on the ground also supporting the relief efforts, the SVG Red Cross, the Rotaract clubs, and other private citizens and entertainers who have been supporting the effort.
Forbes further expressed concern about persons who are still in the red zone without much food or other resources. She appealed to them to get out of the area.
Last few days, especially after the pyroclastic flows, the numbers went up significantly, and that's where we saw the increase in persons who remained in the zone come forward and went into emergency shelters, and sadly there are still a few persons who have refused to evacuate. A very small number, but quite a few who have refused to evacuate, still living in the communities. They are without water, they are without electricity, and it's making life difficult for them within that community. So we continue to appeal to them, as Dr. Roberts said, if you're still in the red zone, that you need to leave. We don't know if the next event is going to be bigger or smaller, so you're still putting your life at risk.
Vice President of the local Red Cross, Harvey Farrell, said they had been working closely with NEMO even before the evacuation of persons from the red zone. He also appealed to those who are still in the red zone to leave, noting the dangers they are posing to themselves and others.
That our existence is to support government because we are an we play an auxiliary role in whatever response the government is doing. As it stands now, we have been very fortunate since the eruption that we've had the presence of a team from our international federation, and they will be here with us for a while, offering support again to things like logistics and helping us to organize to better fulfill our auxiliary role with government.
The community of Oya in the red zone of La Soufrière has suffered a devastating blow due to the eruption. On Sunday, members of our news team went in by boat to the community on the windward side of the island, which is covered in volcanic ash. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
The action of this dog paints a bleak picture of the situation in Oya, which is one of the communities in the red zone on the windward side of the island, devastated by the eruption of La Soufrière volcano. The owner of the dog returned to the community for the first time on Sunday since the eruption started, and when it was time to leave, the dog jumped into the water and swam towards the boat.
Yeah, taking it down, The dog just can't take the pressure up. Just can't take the pressure. The dog jump past it.
There is total destructive transformation of Oya, with a number of buildings destroyed, including churches, and the entire village covered with several inches of volcanic ash. New beaches were also formed, and a new waterfall developed from the destruction of the main bridge connecting Fancy to Oya. The riverbed of the Oya Big River has been totally transformed, with these huge boulders coming from the mountain slope. Dale Medica, who stayed behind, heard when it all happened.
It was like over about 1,000 yards away. I heard the rumbling, but I didn't make it here because rain was coming. Yeah, this is a new riverfall in Oya. This was born on the 13th of April 2001.
Some areas in the community reeked of the scent of dead animals. This elderly resident, Grafton Caesar, is one of the men who did not evacuate. He said although they were able to save some animals, they could not save all.
When the river come down, sheep and goat and pigs wash into, when you watch goat and sheep inside the water, down in the seawater right there, just like a waft down the real sheep and goat and dogs, because they have no shelter place to shelter. So in the river, they have cave with the animal to go and shelter, but they don't know because they don't have the opportunity like we human beings. So river take them and carry them away.
Another resident known as Jumbi said at this time Oya is inhabitable as there is a constant sandstorm. He said it will take a long time before Oya returns to anything close to normal.
When you look at it, like it's a desert region, and we say you have to be good for living in a desert. The situation here we're going on now is a famine thing going on, you know. And the people them cannot come back in this village here for now because up at the water situation, real bad, real difficult now to put back pipe. Have to run real years before. Well, me say plenty years, but it could take a time.
Due to the weight of volcanic ash, which has formed like cement, some roofs are caving in. The remaining Oya residents and those who have been watching videos and pictures of their houses from a distance are praying for rain to keep the dust down and wash away the dirt off their houses and crops, which for many are their livelihood. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
3 of 4 men who never left the community spoke to our news team and shared what it was like to survive the wrath of the eruption of La Soufrière.
I don't know what to do, but I see everybody packing up to go. So I say, I stay in, boy. Look at what he be, I stay in. I want to see where. You see the night? Sun fall like rain. I say, wow. People them go, boy, better they go. So 1 or 2 of them stay, and some of them say they ain't going, but they end up leave.
When the suffer blow, just dust, you can't even see the house of them. You're in the house, putting on a light is bad dust, you have to feel in the house. You go see a little bit in the house, but then outside you can't even make out with a house, yes or no. It's really terrible, just bad darkness. And the dogs of them keep on backing, looking for refuge. But God is good all the time. But one thing I know about, I want to thank that young lady down here, our representative, Chevron John, for make sure that she sent her father to come out and get some food for the dogs, and with her enemies, I know she's doing a really nice, good job.
Going up there, I can't see nothing. Actually, I have to feel, you know, with my foot. When I know the place because it's my neighborhood, so I feel my way and I find him. And then I went in his house, and then I came out back and I started the generator. About 7-10 minutes after the generator shut down again. So I had to come out outside, and still with my extra face mask, shield, and a helmet, I had to come outside and start work on the generator and so forth, and I get it start back again.
The men said they had their own reasons for staying behind, which is also to the benefit of their beloved community.
Staying to protect my place, you know, what I have. You know, I have many investments set up, and so I do sandblast, I have big compressor upon, you know. So I really stick around to protect my place, you know, my property, my livelihood, you know, because nobody gonna give me a check. So I have to stay around, because I remember the December 12th, December storm, my property destroyed, and then the government never gave me nothing. So I had to stay this time to protect my, you know, because the government neglect me, so I had to stick around.
Because 79, this is far away from different to 79, eh?
Worse.
Worse there. So that way I experience it, because I want to put myself mystic to go through it. For people to see, because I don't want to go camp. I don't want to go camp for be too hungry. I go for my spring water, everything's safe, normal with me. Still, it's just like nothing happened.
I think I know, well, all right then, I don't have the money in cash, but I have my animal in what? So that's why I stay, because I know it's very hard out here. All of us, even Rochelle, if she come from here, she know it too. So that's why I say I stick around to make sure and to help out the people. I think the people supposed to thank us for the good job that we did in OA and see what's going on.
They assured their families that they are doing well despite the circumstances. Lead scientist monitoring the La Soufrière volcano, Dr. Richard Robertson, has made a further appeal for persons not to visit the red zone areas, especially going up to the active volcano. Speaking on recent videos posted on social media by a young man seen at the summit of the active volcano, Dr. Robertson strongly condemned the action, noting that it is not a sign of bravery, but stupidity that can result in death.
And because of because of your job, or because of the need to contribute to society in a fundamental way, you still take the action, or you need to save your family or something like that. So you are aware of the risk. You know you could be killed, or you know you could be hurt, but you still do it. That's a brave person. A brave person is not somebody who goes up to the mountain, who understand the risk, putting themselves and their parties at risk, and the people who might have to rescue them. That person is not brave. To me, that person is just simply dotish. So I would suggest that actions like that is not sensible. At this time, you know, you're a minister of government. At this time, I think for me, people in St. need to be brave to what we have to face. We have to face a country in which we will have tremendous destruction because of the volcano. And we have to be brave to face the circumstances. We have to be very brave to realize that if we want to live in this land that is really beautiful, we have to deal with the volcano, we have to deal with the hazards. We have to be brave to protect our family. That is brave.
After a 52-hour break, La Soufrière erupted explosively on Sunday at about 4:49 p.m. Dr. Robertson said that the volcano will continue these periodic activities of earthquake swarms and explosions for a long time.
After this eruption going is, there's a certain amount of wind into it. That said, though, we don't know if there's a new batch of material that wants to come through, that's going to come through, so that even if, and this is what we might expect, even if, for example, in the coming weeks or so, it either stops, it's possible that it could go a dome. Even if that happens, I don't think we will be thinking that we are out to the woods yet, that it's possible that it could restart. When I say restart, that it could go into explosions again and you have a reset because a new batch could come through. So in summary, the activity continues as it has for most of the latter part of the week. And we really need to continue to monitor it and continue to be vigilant. Hopefully rain means that we could get rid of some of the ash and we could have a better day today and a better week, hopefully.
The lead monitoring scientist also noted that it would take months or even a year before persons can go back to their settlements in the red zone. In the meantime, Dr. Robertson advised them to learn to live in the south of the volcano.
It was even greater. Our main development is in the south, so there's a lot that we could do in the country while the volcano is doing what it's doing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the kind of volcanism, the kind of way in which the volcano is erupting in Montserrat, ours operate differently. We tend to have eruptions that go on for shorter periods of time. So therefore, the disruption that will be caused by this volcano is going to be likely much less than the disruption in terms of impact continually of the volcano on people's lives than in Montserrat. We are very unlikely to have that. We're likely to have something that is more of the order of months, perhaps, a year, if so long. In 1902, I was making a comparison. 1902, this is similar to 1902, not quite yet. But 1902 went on for about a year. But the way in which it went on was that it wasn't like it was constantly doing something. It was more like what we have in now, where you had periods when you had explosions and periods where it was apparently quite quiet. That once the volcano is erupting, you need to leave it alone. So don't think, as much as you can, you need to find a way in which you can live in the south. For those people who are here, don't be thinking now that you're going to go back tomorrow, next week, and that. Think like you're in for a long haul, right?
And in its latest update on the volcanic activities, the National Emergency Management Organization said the episode of continuous seismic tremors generated by explosive activity at the volcano lasted until about 9 p.m. last night, and that following this, small, long period and hybrid earthquakes started to be recorded again at a rate of occurrence similar to that before the explosive activity. NEMO said that this rate dropped significantly at about 1 a.m. this morning, and since then, no volcano tectonic earthquakes were recorded in the last 12 hours. However, one rockfall was recorded at 1:39 a.m. It said rockfalls can be generated by a growing lava dome, but this cannot be confirmed without visual observations. NEMO said the continuous GPS network has shown a change in horizontal and vertical movement since the initial depressurization noted immediately following the April 9th explosive phase. Reminding the public that the volcano continues to erupt, NEMO said explosions with accompanying ashfall of similar or larger magnitudes can occur with little or no warning, and that the alert level remains at red. Chief Environmental Health Officer in the Ministry of Health, Neri James, is advising members of the public to exercise caution with drinking water from rivers and streams. James said all drinking water should be bottled or pipe-borne so that they can be boiled for additional safety.
I am basically cautioning us that we must match the quality to the use. Okay? So you have bottled water, right? So you use that to drink. I want to remind us that bottled water have expiry dates. So look at your dates, check the contents. All right, pipe borne. Now it is safe and clean, but if you are in doubt, make sure that it is being boiled and cooled. And yes, you use that to drink and also to cook.
The Chief Environmental Health Officer said that at this time, water sourced from springs, rivers, and streams should only be used for cleaning. He also cautioned persons living upstream not to tamper with the water quality for others downstream.
In a spring for only at last resort you use it for drinking, but we advise you to use the spring and also the stream to flush your WC, okay, and also to clean your yard. I am saying to persons who live in upstream the streams to desist from throwing waste into these streams. Desist from washing your vehicles there, because somewhere on downstream you have persons which join these water.
Meanwhile, infectious disease specialist Dr. Gerald Thompson is encouraging persons to consume more fluids than usual, which he said will protect your body against diseases. However, he cautioned about the danger of consuming and using contaminated water. Since the eruption of La Soufrière, there has been a challenge with the water supply. This challenge has led many persons to turn to springs, rivers, streams, and other sources for water, which could be dangerous, according to the infectious disease specialist.
We have to consume a lot more fluids. A lot of people are going to be under stress. The heart rate is going to be elevated, the blood pressure will be elevated, and we want them to consume a little bit more fluid than usual. And that is going to help to protect their body against a lot of diseases. Now, where they get the water from is crucial, because they don't want to now go and drink contaminated water that can cause additional damage. And I am hoping that very soon that all the pipe-borne water throughout the country will be restored, and CWS is doing a real effort in terms of getting that water back on track. But we're also in the middle of dry season, in the so-called summer, as we say, and therefore rainfall is going to be that lower. And whether the ash has contaminated or had an effect on the various intakes, those intakes have to be cleaned out and so forth, so they can be then refilled.
Dr. Thompson outlined some of the waterborne diseases, bacteria, parasites, and fungi that persons can contract if they use contaminated water.
Such as bacteria, E. coli, various other things of that nature. And we could go through the names of them, salmonella. They can actually get into the water, especially for persons who are defecating or putting waste into water. And if then it is drank without boiling or being treated in some form, that by drinking it will get into your intestines. There are also some fungi that could get onto your skin and cause other type of rash and so forth if these things, the pampers and other things like that, are thrown into rivers. And we've done a tremendous job over the years of cleaning up our rivers and streams and having garbage collection. And so, these things are important.
Dr. Thompson is also encouraging persons to only drink boiled water or bottled water that is known to be clean.
People should really be encouraged to drink a lot of bottled water, or to boil the water that they take. If there is a water hole of some sort that is available, then persons should try not to contaminate that water hole in any way by bathing in it at the same time or washing clothes in it if it's going to use water. But that water should definitely be boiled and be treated in some measure so as to make sure it does not convey any sort of other harmful waterborne diseases. Certainly water of this source can be used for bathing, it can be used for some washing, and can be used for the toilet flushing and things like that. But we want everybody to be very protective of the water source and to be also conscious of what is going on upstream, so that some other activity is not taking place upstream that's contaminating the water that you're using.
Local health authorities are investigating the birth of a baby outside the Maternity A ward of the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital shortly after midnight on Saturday. A video recording of the incident has since gone viral. The mother claimed that nurses at the hospital refused to attend to her without knowing her COVID-19 status, even after she complained to them that she felt that she was about to give birth, which she did, on a bench outside of the ward. In a statement issued yesterday, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment acknowledged the incident and said the mother, baby and father have been assessed and are stable and without any immediate signs of adverse effects due to the mode of delivery, and that further investigations will continue. The ministry said it is conducting investigations into the events surrounding what it describes as an unfortunate and unusual incident, with an aim to implement corrective measures where necessary to ensure that there is no repeat of such an incident. The Argyle International Airport remains closed until further notice due to significant ash deposits caused by the eruption of La Soufrière. All operations at the airport were suspended as the facility undergoes a rigorous cleanup of the runways and apron. In a news release issued today, airport authorities say the initial suspension of operations was tentatively until 4 p.m. today. However, the cleanup work continues, and notwithstanding tremendous progress, today's assessment indicates that it was not possible to recommence operations at AIA. The news release said a new update will be provided as soon as possible. As to the airports in the Grenadines, the release said an update on operations at the J.F. Mitchell Airport in Beckway will be provided shortly. However, the Canouan, Union Island and Mustique airports remain operational from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., only to accommodate special flights with prior permission.